But Nick, what about the physical symptoms? When will they go away? So here's the thing. The question you've just asked me is downstream. It's a symptom of something that's going on further upstream, which I'm going to talk to you about in a moment. And what we find is that the behaviors that you're concerned about, the worries that you have, the thinking you have that's painful and uncomfortable to you, they're all symptoms of a misunderstanding that kind of filter down. So we're left with the consequences, which are what look to us weird behaviors, weird thinking, stressful thinking, us acting in ways that we think we shouldn't, looking like other people are acting in ways that we think we shouldn't, thinking we have to cope with this circumstance. What you're asking me is, how do I cope with this circumstance? How do I have different behaviors? What do I do when this happens? How do I react when that happens? Why can't I stop doing this? When will I start doing that? And all the questions that most of my clients and people ask me are behavioral symptoms. It's like you're going to the doctor and you're saying, I've got achy knees, and I've got a sore shoulder, and I've got problem. My fingernails are going all flaky, and my hair keeps falling out. What do I do about all of those? And what your doctor will do is look hopefully look upstream and have a look at what's going on at a fundamental underlying level. Say, for example, that might be something to do with your immune system, right? I'm not a doctor, so I'm making this up, but like, what they will do is look for an underlying root cause. So if your immune system is compromised, that's what's causing all the symptoms down at this end. Like, I'm tired, doctor. I keep sleeping all the time. My toenails are falling off, right? And they're like, that's okay. We're not going to give you toenail sticking cream, and we're not going to give you sleeping tablets, and we're not going to give you some cream to rub into your hair. What we're going to do is we're going to look up here, and we're going to sort your immune system out. Because if we can sort out your immune system, all of these problems are going to go away. And you're like, yeah, but doctor, my hair's falling out. Look, my hair's falling out. Give me something for my hair falling out. What do I do about that? How do I cope with that hair falling out? And the doctor's going, don't worry. Your hair's going to keep falling out for now. But I'm not concerned about it, because I know when we tackle the problem upstream, all of that is going to get taken care of. So when we're looking in this conversation, when we're looking in this understanding, what I'm sharing and teaching with my clients is upstream, right? This thing is upstream. So let's move up here. Let's talk about what is this thing, this equivalent of the psychological immune system, if you like. Like, what can we learn and see about that that's going to take care of all the symptoms you just asked about, right? We don't need to go there. This is unhelpful. I can sit here, and you could go post in my Facebook group and say, yeah, my hair's falling out, and you'll get lots of people going, yeah, mine too. My toenails are falling off. Yeah, mine too. You can spend loads of time buying books and trying to find mechanisms and strategies and tools and ointments and medications to try and sort out here, like what's going on with your toenails falling off. And that's not going to be helpful. I'm not interested in having a conversation with you about any of those things. I know they're your biggest burning, most in-your-face concerns. I'm going to take you up here. So what is up here? Up here is an understanding about how all human beings work. This is a conversation about health. It's like I'm going to teach you about your psychological immune system, and I know everything else gets taken care of. Here are thoughts that we have. We're living in this world of really stressful, busy thinking, probably about all of this stuff. And any human being that lives in a pile of busy, frantic, caught up thought, whirling, keeping them up at night, worrying, that's not a healthy state of mind to be living in, right? Like, I hadn't realized quite how much noise there was in my head until I started to understand a bit more about how the human system is perfectly designed and how we kind of through misunderstanding, we use and kind of abuse our human system, if you like. So when we look up here, there's a few facts that are really helpful to know. First of all human beings do better when they have less on their minds. Right? When we have a busy, stressed out, anxious mind, which is, what an anxious, stressful mind is, it's just a busy, busy, busy mind. We are taking our innate mental health and kind of clouding it over and trying to figure out, getting all involved in what's going on in our psychology. We're so busy thinking about how to deal with that what we do is we forget, we can't see that we have this underlying, innate, beautiful, totally neutral, actually, very real innate mental health, peace of mind and well-being. Every human being has it. You look at any member of your family, any person you meet on the street, any child, any human being, we have this innate mental health. It's the part of us that remains constant. It's the part of you that's you when you're stressed. It's the part of you that's still there when you're asleep and unconscious. It's the part of you that remains the same despite all your skin cells dropping off over the years and regrowing again as a different body, right? It's the part of you that's the same, the part of us that's the same whether we're born in Africa or Australia. It's the part of us that's the same whether we're born Jewish or Muslim, right? It's the part of us that's the same when we're crying and when we're joyful. There's something fundamental underneath, which is our innate mental health that's there for the taking. Now, when we get caught up all down here, we think it's gone. We think we have to do stuff to fix stuff because it's all gone and we need it replaced. But all that's going on is we have this huge, it's formless, right? But it's our underlying mental health. It's our innate mental health with piles and piles and piles and piles and piles and piles of thinking on top. So if you start to understand that that's there underneath all of it, there's nothing you need to do to get it. It's never gone anywhere. It's just you've kind of forgotten it for a little while. And then I know your next question is probably, well, how do I get rid of these piles and piles and piles and piles and piles of thought? Well, here's the thing. Understanding a few things that are really helpful about thought will help you have a completely different relationship with all this yabba that's going on in your head, right? And when you have a different relationship with this yabba that's going on in your head, it's like it changes it from being a massive blaring noise that's filling your whole head and stressing you out to a radio that's kind of playing in the background that's sometimes irritating, sometimes gorgeous, sometimes really in your face, but you just have a different relationship with it. And it's not through doing anything, it's just understanding. So what's helpful to understand about these piles of thought? Well, firstly, that the thinking we have is transient, it's temporary, its nature is that it moves along and it's not permanent. So no matter how scared you feel, right? No matter how in the middle of a panic attack you are, no matter how worried you are about the person that you love, no matter how worried you are about your health, right? You will live in the feeling of that thought until it goes. And it will go. Because all thought moves along. The nature of thought is that it just tick, 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 tick. You might have heard me talk about the ticker tape before. Tick, 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 tick. Our thought moves along all on its own. Now, we can do a really good job of holding it in place by like jumping into it and trying to manipulate it and do stuff with it and have it be gone, and all the things that we try to do to have a more experience of peace of mind, right? And all that does is it kind of tangles up the ticker tape, so we just get more and more and more of it. But if we know, because we take a look and we see it's true, that thought is transient, that we're never stuck in a panic attack permanently, that we're never stuck in the fear of, the very question you asked me right at the beginning, that comes into your mind, and when it's there, it's really painful and stressful, and then it goes again. And then it comes into your mind, and it goes again. Now, if you understand and you see the truth of that, you start to get less scared when it shows up, because you know it's going to go. Like, you know it's going to go. It's the worst that can ever happen to us is that we get tangled up in a big pile of thought. But it always, our innate nature, our innate well-being, our innate human way humans are built is that thought will pass on, and there'll be another one along in a moment. Like, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, right? You know this. You can take a look, you can see that it's true. But understanding that shifts your relationship with it. It can't fail but to do that. So to know that thought is temporary, to know it's transitory, it's almost like a puff of smoke that comes through our head and then it goes, and then it comes through our head and it goes, and it comes through our head and it goes. But it can't hurt us, it can't harm us, it can't damage us. If you look back, you've been through a million thought storms in your life and you're still here and standing, right? Like, you're built to withstand the battery of thought storms. You don't have to do anything to have that ability. That was built into your bones from the moment you were born. You are naturally resilient. Think about all those massive thought storms you've had, and you've survived every one completely unscathed, right? That innate mental health is untouched by all of the storms that go on above and beyond it. So you start to understand the nature of thought. There's nothing you need to do, just understand it, right? And the more and more deeply we understand and see the truth of this, the more and more it shifts our relationship with it. But the other thing that's really key to know, so we've kind of looked at, well, where does anxiety comes from? It comes from tangles and tangles of thought that we take to be real and serious and important and true. Where does the physical symptoms come from that I'm worried about down here? They come from the feeling of all this. This feels a sweaty palm, racing heart. That's what this feels like. And while we're having those thoughts, we're going to feel those feelings. Nothing we can do about that. But when your relationship to thought starts to change, your relationship to physical symptoms starts to change, and your relationship to stress and anxiety starts to change, and your relationship to having piles of ticker tape, and your relationship to being in a thought storm starts to change. And all of these symptoms start to change, and these relationships and these things that you're concerned about start to change all on their own, just through you understanding the nature of thought, really seeing the truth of it for yourself. So there's this thing about thought, about what it's made of, what anxiety's made of, and when we start to understand it, we become less frightened of it, and then these things aren't such a big deal after all. But then the other thing that's really, really helpful to understand is that we have this big ball of innate mental health. That's who we really are underneath all of it. And when you go see a traditional doctor or a psychiatrist or traditional counsellor, they all want to look down here. They want to look at your behaviours. They want to look at your thinking. They want to look at the way you're approaching your everyday to-day life. And it's the wrong direction. I'm going to be really blunt about it. It's the wrong direction. When you start to see this innate health, who you really are underneath all that noise, the unchanging beauty of pure consciousness that we are before we have any human experience at all, that does something. That matters, that you can see that. And that's what I point my clients in the direction of. I point them in the direction of innate mental health and more of an understanding about thought and what it's made of and why it looks so real to us, so we stop being quite so scared of it. So to go back to the question you asked me at the beginning, looking where you're looking is not helpful. Looking upstream, understanding how the system works is all that's required. And one day you're going to look around and you're going to see that the thing that you just asked me a question about is no longer an issue for you. It's been taken care of, in the same way that when you take the penicillin that the doctor gives you to sort out your immune system, again, bad doctoring, I don't know if penicillin sorts out immune, but you know what I mean, right? Gives you the spoonful of penicillin, and your manky toes get sorted out, and your hair stops falling out, and your kneecaps stop aching, right? You don't have to do anything about your hair falling out. You showed up, you took the penicillin, and all of the symptoms got taken care of for you. The question you just asked me will get taken care of for you when you start looking in this direction. Now, I've got heaps and heaps of resources that point you in this direction in a million different ways. So don't worry if you're not understanding. Don't worry if you're still going down here and obsessed with these things and asking questions about these things. Just stay in this conversation and keep listening. And I promise you that the penicillin will start doing its job regardless of whether you think you're getting it or not. Okay, I hope that's helpful to you. Let me know, and I'll be back soon with another video.